Welcome back, fellow passengers. Last week, we discussed the irony of the pilot episode and how poor little 10-year-old me had to deal with that knowledge. We also delved deeper into hijinx's many, many fingers and many, many pies, and how she is the ultimate mamapedia, especially for this podcast. But this week, I want to ask her a question that's been weighing on my mind for years, and that's how the heck did those ship names start? We all know that shipping is when fans take two characters in the show and imagine them to be in love or lust or whatever, really, and then we smash the two names together. The point is, it's very rarely canon, and I'll share a funny joke about that later. But for now, for your weekly trivia into the pop culture of 2004. It's good news for us fans, because WikiCities launches. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then maybe you know it by some of its other names. Wikia? Or how about fandom? And I'll have you know, I spend a lot of time on fandom whenever I'm doing a deep dive into whatever nerd thing I'm obsessed with at the time. Just don't check my fandom search history. It's not bad. It's just very eclectic and will get you. It's the first time that Hijinx is hearing my speech. But it's enough about me. It's time to get to the show. This is Lost Ink, my podcast. Hello, Hijinx. Thank you for laughing at my jokes.
That's what you pay me for.
Oh, if I'm paying you? Crap.
Crap.
I gotta go.
My bank account. Don't take my bank account.
Please don't take my bank account. So if you want to hear the joke I found for canon.
I'm afraid.
So canon, spelled with a total of 3 N's. I'm not sure if AI can figure that out. They've had trouble spelling strawberry before, but canon spelled with 3 N's is the thing that goes boom. The canon spelled with only 2 N's is an event that occurs within a published story. However, they both destroy ships. I saw that the other day, and I knew that we were...
Also with 2 N's is your uncle's tag. When he used to do graffiti, he used CANON. So,
oh, that's right, he did. Like the camera cannon, right?
I don't think that's
I don't know if that was an
used
inspiration, but that's the same spelling.
I have no idea why he used Canon, but that was his tag.
It's funny anyway. Now that he married a photographer.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, weird. Alrighty.
Yeah, weird.
So before we continue, this is your chance to pause the episode and go back and watch Pilot Part 2 if you have not already. We're going to take just a small break and we'll be right back to talk about it. Alrighty, Mother. What are your thoughts? What are you doing? She's making faces at me. I know y'all can't see it, but she's making faces at me. You know, one day
I'm not.
Videos.
No, you will not. My thoughts. Well, we were both discussing the fact that Sawyer was like a real jerk.
He's a piece of work.
A lot more of a jerk than we remembered.
And this is the episode with the
so much more happened in the first 2 episodes than I realized.
I didn't realize they went off with the transceiver this episode. I thought that was next episode when they were walking.
We got the French lady and everything. I was like, good Lord, did all this happen in this episode? What happened the rest of the season?
There's a whole season left. What's happening?
I was like, we found out about Kate and, you know, the U.S. Marshal and the polar bear and the smoke monster and everything. What happened the rest of the season?
Anyway. So most of the time that I remember, the episodes focus on one person and give them their flashbacks. This episode actually had 2. Charlie and Kate both had flashbacks.
They did like little mini flashbacks just to kind of give hints about
at least the plane crashing. I know that's all that's happened so far.
They did like little, they gave us kind of like little tidbits. So, because remember in the pilot they gave us not a real flashback, but they at least showed us Jack on the plane to explain why he had the alcohol in his pocket, and also and they showed Charlie do the run, so you could see him with the drugs.
Yeah, I have a note. It says "Bad Charlie, bathroom my ass."
Language. And then
that
they
one's
had
not a bad one.
and then so we also had the and then and there was also like a menu on a rose because Rose was sitting in the aisle. I mean, the same aisle with Jack.
Yeah, and she has
and talking about her
husband's
husband
ring.
and him being in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why he's not next to her. What else did we have? Oh, but in this episode, so yeah, just that whole group. I just did not remember that all that happened in the first episode. It's like, oh my god.
So two other things that happened was one, Claire forces Son to like touch her stomach. He's like, oh, oh,
Son, that's not
that's
Son.
Son. I'm sorry, my
Jin.
brain. Jin. Son is the wife, but she like grabs Jin's hand. And she's like, oh, no. He's like trying to pull his hand away.
Stop making me touch your stomach, woman.
He's like, great, it's kicking. Baby's kicking. Great. Just give back my hand.
No touchy. No touchy.
And then the other thing I mentioned was that it had the backgammon game. I didn't know that happened that early.
Yeah. And Locke and Walt interacting.
And the whole thing about dark and light. And for anyone who's not seen Lost before, this is a major foreshadowing point.
Yep.
I'm trying my best not to spoil it for those who haven't seen it.
And again, it's like I said, I mean,
we're going to do our best, but we know things.
We know things. Well, at the very least, it proves. I know that that at least the first season was planned. That's the way that you could say.
Yeah, that one was very detailed and planned. And I know most of the second one I feel was very detailed and planned.
So
then it jumped the rails.
I mean, I'm not the expert on this, but I do know that there was a little group of writers. Javi was one of them. Paul Dini was another. If you don't know who Paul Dini was, shame on you.
What's that?
Paul Dini, more famous in the realm of comic books and cartoons because he wrote Batman comics. He is credited with inventing Harley Quinn. Some of y'all may have heard of her.
Ooh, Harley Space Quinn?
Yes.
You said Harley Quinn, and I had it as one word in my head.
No.
Because it is
Harley Quinn. And also Jingle Bell and characters like that. And there were two others, I can't remember, but they were kind of brought together I think they were tasked to come up with the characters who were going to be on the plane and some of like the kind of nitty-gritty plots. And they wrote. Dini didn't stay with. I don't think I can't because he didn't. He was just part of that initial group, but he left before the season. Before they actually started writing episodes, like for the writers' room and all that kind of stuff. He was part of like the think tank, I think is what they called it. Because, when they were trying to, after they, because they pitched the idea numerous times, the script had gone through numerous hands before it finally got to JJ. And then JJ was going to, put his name on the show, direct a couple episodes maybe, but he just did not have the time to run the show, which is when they brought Damon in. But Damon was so young and he didn't have enough experience to run it on his own, which is where Carlton came in. So that's that initial. Anyway, so they had a think tank of writers who were going to help develop the plot and, based a lot of it, of course, based on what JJ and Damon had came up with for the pilot. But they needed to have, what is the season going to be like? I think they had like an idea they had to have the season and then kind of a long game plan. But
so kind of like what you had to do with your book.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always going to be, this is ideally what's going to happen, but obviously, things are going to change, parts are going to move. They're going
Characters will change because actors are leaving the show for whatever their case may be, or they aren't
to
available
Mr.
for certain
Echo,
episodes. What did you just say?
Mr. Echo.
No, what did you
No,
say?
wait, I said Mr. Echo.
Mr. Echo. Who's that? Season 2?
Mr. Echo got eaten by the smoke monster from the others.
Echo. I remember him now. Wasn't he in The Mummy? I'm not crazy, right? This guy from Mummy 2?
Yes.
Yeah. I forgot his name in the show for a minute.
He was supposed to have a massive story arc, and then he decided he didn't want to live in Hawaii anymore. So
Hawaii's hot. I've never been, but I assume it's hot.
all right. Anyway, so all that's to say, I don't even remember where we were going with that.
Islands are hot. Mr. Echo didn't want to be there anymore.
But before I went on that tangent, when we were talking about the writer's room,
because they made it so intricate, at least for the first season. But things changed, and it kind of like started to unravel things.
I don't remember where we started before all that. Is what I was saying. Why we were talking about the writers.
Because we were surprised at how much stuff happened in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah. But
by the way,
we were talking about the badminton and the dark and the light. Anyway, but yeah.
And the comic book had a polar bear in it. I was like,
yeah.
polar bears this episode.
But the thing about JJ is that, and if you ever watched Alias, which he was a lot more involved with the plots and the writing and the writer's room in Alias than he was in Lost. JJ likes, speaking of Easter eggs, JJ likes to plant stuff for people who pay attention. So for those of us who watched Alias, there's the Rambaldi eye.
Which is what you have a tattoo of, and so does my cousin, your niece.
She doesn't have this.
I thought she did. I thought she got it too.
No, she's never watched Alias. I finally got her to watch the pilot episode. I got them to watch the pilot episode.
I thought she got that on her hand as well. Oh, my bad.
No. Anyway, so the Rambaldi eye and the number 47 are continual themes all throughout Alias. If you just watch a random episode of Alias and have never watched the entire show, you would not notice that stuff. But what's even more magical about JJ is he doesn't restrict it just to his TV show. If you then watch a Mission Impossible movie, suddenly there'll be Pier 47.
In Cloverfield, don't they pass the 47th floor?
Probably. Yeah, he'll drop it in the other stuff he does too. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that's how he thinks about stuff. So since JJ was so involved with the pilot and stuff, I mean, I think that's what he schooled, drilled it into Damon about, putting stuff into the pilot that was going to bear fruit throughout the season. So the stuff in the comic book, the backgammon game, the dark and the light, all that kind of stuff. That's a JJ thing. And that's why the first season rocked. But go ahead.
Yeah, it did. It was so good. The only number I caught was the fact that the message has been playing for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the fact that they keep like pressuring Shannon. She's like, I don't know much French. And then she rattles off the whole transmission.
And Boone's like, yes, you do. Stop.
Do you know how strange it is for me to go back and watch Lost now that I've seen the Vampire Diaries? Each world is just very different.
A little bit.
More than a little. I mean, he's still a bit of a bully to a female, but still. Okay. I'm gonna check my notes, make sure that I got everything. My notes are just, I have a note that says Sawyer and Saeed start Fight Club.
They really do.
They really do. But I have a note from
I just
last season I forgot to mention was the fact that Hurley gave Claire 2 dinners.
yes,
It was just
one
so
for her and one
cute.
for the baby. Which, I mean, one of the best, uh, one of the most interesting parts about, or the stuff that I'm not. The other things I think about of the people who come into Lost late is you guys didn't hear all the interviews with all the cast members when they were going through, how did you get cast in Lost, and read all the magazines, all the Lost magazine stuff. But so I'm not sure the people who get into it now realize that there wasn't a Hurley character. Like Jorge came in for the casting process and they just wrote a character for him. Or no, I don't even know if I don't even think it was that. Jorge was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I can't remember if it was because they saw him on that they cast him, or maybe it was that he came in for something else. But they literally wrote a character for him. He was not in the casting lineup or whatever. They wrote a character for him.
And you know what? That explains why you haven't seen many numbers yet, because they become thrown at you so hard later on.
So yeah,
I was wondering why I hadn't found many. I could have swore.
Yeah, so I mean, he probably does seem like he's just kind of thrown into things in the pilot. And yeah, there really weren't that much of the numbers in the pilot because JJ would have been throwing him upside her head. But yeah, his character was invented because they just wanted Jorge Garcia in the show.
My whole world has been blown. I was like, am I missing the number? I was torturing myself over here. Hardcore. Like, where are the numbers, man? The numbers. Okay. Now that we're done talking about numbers. And I know it's not something that's happened yet in the show, but it is something that will be brought up because that's just how the fans are. They want to see people together. The Jaters and the Skaters, I think we said were the names of the 2 big ships that set sail on the fan sites. Do you know how those started? Or how they chose the names? I'm glad they chose those ones because I try to do the math backwards. They don't sound right.
It happened on. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it was a threaded board thing on the fuselage. Oh, I'm just assuming. Like I said, I don't know if there were any other fans. I mean, I assume there were other fan sites that talked about Lost. If there were, they were all
not as
inferior. Popular. I think you meant grossly inferior, because that's what I said. But I do know that we had. There wasn't. I almost exclusively stayed on the linear board, the LB, just because I didn't want anything to do with the threaded board. Like I said, I only went to the threaded board when they needed me to embarrass somebody or ban somebody, and tell them why. How do couple names come about? I assume it happened somewhere in the threaded board, and there it should stay. There were shipper wars. Now, I do believe, if I remember, because I did have a friend who was a hardcore Jater. Yes. I'm still friends with her. She has adorable daughters. One of her daughters' names is Sydney. Ooh. She was one of my alias friends. And then she came.
I just realized we didn't specify. Jaters are Jack and Kate shippers, and Skaters are Sawyer and Kate shippers. My bad.
and by shippers we mean we ship them. We want them to be together in the end of the show. Yes, she was a hardcore. Together. She wanted Jack and Kate to be together in the end, so she won. For the most part. So I think so. They usually kept to their own corners. I don't think that I mean, it never got to the point that they would go into each other's threads and do shipper wars. But if my daughter had read my book, there's a whole chapter on shipping.
Great. I'm talking to you about it though, because I'm trying to avoid as many spoilers as possible. I've avoided fandom and IMDb and all of it.
I know.
I'm trying to go into this with fresh eyes.
Well, I mean, what I address in the book is, well, because I also endured shipping in Alias, and I looked at it from a psychological point of view, where, you know, if you're someone who is a skater, then you are kind of viewing the show from skater glasses, which means every time, you know, you can view everything from the view of, oh, he said this to her, so that means he really likes her, or, you know, you take it you're going to look at everything as positive from that viewpoint. But then if you're a Jater, then you're going to take it in a completely different context. I mean, you can read every scene based on how you feel about
that couple,
those two people as a couple. Yeah. So I was like, it's not going to matter. You know, you can't win for losing. It's the same thing. So yeah, there's a whole chapter in the book about shipping. It's literally called Shipper Wars. So,
well, that's fantastic. If you want some more details into that, go get her book.
Good luck on trying to find it. I think it's still on Amazon.
Oh man, I hope it is. So, Lost Ate My Life with hijinx and Doc Arts.
You'll find my old name.
Yes, her old name. She got divorced. So that's no longer her name.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. It's no longer my last name either. It's now one of my middle names.
Anyway, so yeah. That's the best part about the linear board. There wasn't really any shipping. We just talked about the show. Okay. Kept all that crap out of there.
So I was sitting here thinking about it. I was talking about shipping names, and it reminded me of some of the popular ones I've heard over the years, like Hermione and stuff like that. And then I realized Death, which won't exist for another 4 or 5 years at this point.
What?
Supernatural came out in 2005.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Until episode or season 4, which would put that close to 2009.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Death was the shipping of Dean and Castiel.
You know, I never watched Supernatural. So.
I know you never watched Supernatural, but it just occurred to me. I was trying to think of like popular ships, and most of them probably don't exist at the time of these pilots.
You know that the only shipping of Supernatural that I've ever had any kind of brush with has been on fanfiction.net, and it's the one ship that nobody wants to know about.
It's the Wincest one, isn't it?
Yep. So much dedicated.
Supernatural, right?
There's so much dedicated to Wincest that you just can't avoid it, and it's yes.
Yeah, there's an episode where they come across fan fiction of them, and they're like, they're shipping us together. Like, together? They know we're brothers, right? It is great. It's a great episode. It's basically them getting to yell at the fans for shipping them.
Thank God. And they probably did. There's probably fan fiction about them being acknowledged and legitimate. And now we're legitimate.
Yeah, they're in the show, Supernatural books and all that. If anyone crossed that,
why are we talking about this? Let's not talk about this. We're going to cut this out.
We're going back to Lost. So I know shipping wasn't that big of a thing, but I do remember that was my first experience.
No, I mean, but no, don't get me wrong. The skate and the Jate shipping was massive. I just stayed out of it. Don't say it was massive.
You were conscious. You washed your hands of this and walked away.
Yeah, I was not a part of it. It was huge, and then later on, another female came into the picture to um, that became a love interest for Sawyer.
Who became the love interest for Sawyer? Wait, does her name start with an A?
No,
No, so it's not. Let me see it. Because I know another one came in for Jack, but I can't remember who came in for Sawyer. So. She she was for Sawyer. I thought she was for. Yeah, I know what you're spelling. I thought that was for Jack.
no, you don't remember the whole scene with her? Oh my god!
Again,
I can't wait for you to watch the whole series.
it's probably been 12 years since I did a rewatch that took me that far. When I did the rewatch 6 years ago, I only got through like 6 episodes of episode 1 because I was
So
trying
have
to
you
get
ever?
Junior in.
Can you actually call it a rewatch if you didn't rewatch
I
all of
rewatched
it?
6 episodes. I didn't say it was a full rewatch.
Then it's not a rewatch.
You're not a rewatch. We're only
It's a
2 episodes in. This isn't a rewatch either.
It's just that was like a sampling. That was an accidental watching.
I accidentally turned on Netflix and it asked me if I was still watching.
I happened upon an episode. I walked past the TV and I was playing an episode. That's what we used to call reruns.
I
remember those?
reruns.
Do you remember reruns? That's like me saying
reruns because
I'm older than Google.
I remember reruns because that is how I watched most of Heroes
Buffy?
one year. You were
That's
at
how I found
Dragon
Buffy.
Con, I think, and I spent 3 days watching Heroes. That's how I spent that weekend.
I still haven't finished Heroes. Matt,
I keep getting to season 4.
your brother can't believe it. He can't believe I've never finished it.
I've also never watched the Reborn series, and I need to. Maybe we'll do that one.
How dare you? The fact that I can't get either of you to watch Fast and Furious just makes me furious. That is it's such a good series. Okay, we're tangenting. Let's get back.
This is all about
bring it
fandoms.
back. Bring it back. It was a very big deal. And I think until the bitter end, I'm not sure. I mean, shipper wise, I don't think it's real spoilery, but I'm not sure everybody was happy. I think the thing about shipping is that the men never get it. Because I honestly
thought, or
well, no, I'm saying that I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look because I do think at some point that Damon addresses the shipping, and I think he maybe took a side, and I think it might have backfired.
why'd he go Damon?
I'm trying to think. Either that or he tried to intentionally make it ambiguous in the end, and maybe that something backfired in the shipping department. Because okay, so there
please all the fans. That's
I know.
the problem.
So at the time that Lost was airing, there was a Lost magazine.
I remember the episodes
And-
or the
And when the time Alias was airing, there was an Alias magazine. Very good friend of mine, Tara, who I'm still good friends with, wrote for both those magazines. But I mean, she would have like this ridiculous access to, all the. I mean, the magazine was essentially affiliated with ABC in the show. I mean, so they had like just ridiculous access to everybody. So I really should pick Tara's brain because she would remember better than I would. But so they would get into, they would always be asking Carlton and Damon and those guys about the different relationships and I think they've asked him about the skaters and the Jaters. And I'm trying to remember. I'll have to I might have to find out. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
to write that on my
The
to-do
rates
list.
sometime. We can always come back to the topic. It's not like we have a limited
Oh,
time frame of 6 seasons to get through all this.
oh yeah. She'll. Isn't there only? Is it 6 seasons? I thought it was
There's
5.
6. 4, 5, and 6 are all shorter seasons than typical, but there are 6 seasons. Don't test me. I have the list up next to me.
I'm thinking of Alias. Never mind. It is 6.
Alias was
Good
5,
Lord.
right?
Alias is 5.
Yeah.
In
You
the
always have
fifth
the
season,
coolest box sets. Alias, Buffy, and even the Lost, like they all the colors. I just love seeing them all lined up.
yeah, but the one I haven't the one box set that I don't have that I would like to have is like the full Lost box set. I've got the full Alias.
Awesome.
I have the full Alias box set, which is the Rambaldi one, which has got the Easter egg. And then I have the full Buffy box set, which is cool.
I love that.
The Chosen one. That one's awesome. But yeah, I don't have the full Lost one. That's the one I haven't gotten. And I would like to get that at some point. But okay. I also would like Alias to be released on Blu-ray. JJ. Why have you not done that? How dare you?
Yet, JJ, listen to us. Yet.
I mean, it's such an amazing show. So amazing. Of all he's done, so I know he's done a lot for me, and there are favors that I cannot reveal. Not all for me, but that would be awesome if I could ever pull it off. So I really need to poke. I need to poke
the bear. Alrighty, I think that's gonna be it for today. We've gotten through quite a lot. Next week's episode is, I gotta scroll because I actually tried to wait. Tabula Rasa.
Tabula Rasa.
Alrighty. My brain does not remember at all what that's about. So,
well, that you know what? That's convenient because Tabula Rasa means blank slate.
Does it really? That's great. I'm glad I'm prepared for this then.
You are uber prepared.
Woo! All right. So if you have any questions you want to ask either Hijinx or I, Busy Bee, feel free to contact us. You can find us at lost8mypod@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter and an Instagram, both of them with the same handle at lost8mypod. If you tried to send us something last week and you realized we didn't address it in this episode, I have bad news for you. We filmed these 2 episodes back to back. Probably filmed 3 and 4 back to back as well. So it might take us a week or 2 to get to your questions.
This is how our schedule is right now.
We are crazy busy. Her schedule is like 2 days on, 2 days off at nights. Mine is working till almost 6:30, and I have a daughter I have to get to bed at 9, who's been very angry at the fact that I've not read Harry Potter to her tonight. So I'm gonna have to suffer for that tomorrow.
I was about to say, is she still staring daggers at you right now?
She's not in the room currently, but she did come in an hour past her bedtime. She's like, "Mom, are you still recording?" I'm like, "Yeah, so we're in the middle of the second episode. I'm still recording." Actually, that was the middle of the episode. That was an hour, and that was 45 minutes ago.
We went on a tangent. It didn't count.
Lots of things are probably getting cut. So, but yeah, if you ever want to contact
all the good stuff, all the good stuff,
everywhere at Gmail. Feel free to contact us, and we will see you in the next episode, fellow passengers. Thank you, and have a great night.
Good night.